Hello everyone. I think if I open my videos in a Central European accent that makes me sound smarter at chess. It probably does, I reckon. Anyway, I've got an interesting game for you at the moment. So, what I'm focusing on right now in chess is trying to develop my ability to read the board, read the story of the board. So going beyond just short-range tactics, but saying, okay, when the board looks like this, what is the right approach to take? And that, I think, is going to help me. I'm still blundering around under 1450. I've been between 1400 and 1450 for a while now. I want to get back over 1500. So this is one way to do it. Got a nice, interesting game to share with you. My opponent's rated in the low 1300s. And with this in mind, right, reading the board, e4, e6. So this looks like the French defense, okay? So d4, obviously I want to grab the center, control all these four key squares. And now d6. So this is the Piet's small center defense. And to me, this is already starting to wave a flag saying this guy is playing like a snail. This is a slow, careful, methodical attack. Could even turn into like a hippopotamus. He could put his knights in there, couldn't he? And move these pawns forward and fianchetto both bishops, yeah? So that's one way to get into the hippo if you wanted to. So I think, okay, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's push f4. If he's not interested in space, I'm going to grab the space. Now we have knight to f6, attacking this pawn, and I've got several ways to defend it, but defend with development. Blocking my queen from this pawn is not an issue because it's not under attack. So there we go. Now it's under attack. Okay. Now knight to f3. Yeah, I could have pushed c3. I considered c3, but why not bring a knight out into the game? Now he moves his knight for a second time, which is not recommendable, really. So much better to get your other pieces out into the board, and if you can't bring them straight out into the board, play a move that prepares to bring them out into the board, like a pawn move, right? You can fianchetto, Figaro. So now c3. So now I figure, right, look at it this way. This guy has invested 1, 2, 3, right? 3 knight moves into this knight. If he wants to go and take my bishop, poof, the knight is gone, and all 3 of those moves of development have gone with it. And this is, you need to visualize this, right? Now, he does take the bishop. I recapture with the queen. And now look at the board. This is what it looks like to evaporate your own development moves, okay? So he's brought 2 pieces out into the board, and then he's sent his queen's knight on a suicide mission to take out my bishop, right? But look, he's moved 2 pawns a square each. I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4 pawns. Now most people watching this video won't know what that voice is, but some of you will, if you're of a certain age. Okay, so I've got a knight and a queen developed, 4 pawns. He's got a knight and 2 pawns. So he's got half the development I've got so far. Right, now, d5 is begging me to play e5, hitting the knight, which means the knight's going to have to move, which means he's going to lose some tempo. So the knight moves there. Okay, it's not a bad square for the knight. It's protected by this pawn, and it's going to be an annoyance. Okay, so now white castles. I figure I've already pushed Freddy. Freddy can now go and sacrifice himself for the greater good. Open up the f-file, and we might have some ideas. Now he brings his bishop back to e7, and I play my knight to d2, thinking I can swap off this knight. If he does nothing, takes, queen takes, and I win a pawn, yeah? If he captures, bishop takes, and I've completed development by bringing my bishop off the back rank, collecting my rooks, right? So it's a win-win for me. So he plays c5, I capture the knight, takes, I'm up a pawn. Hooray! Okay, now I have lost my light square bishop, which is interesting because I've got this big old dark squared pawn chain here, but you have to remember that the shape of the game changes over time. Pawns can move. Unless they're all gridlocked, you've got ideas of pawn breaks in the middle game. Okay, so now I haven't completed development because my bishop's still in the way of my rooks. Black castles. Now I bring my knight in. So I figure that I'm quite happy to sacrifice this. This is actually defended twice because the bishop is X-ray defending through the pawn. And I figure, look, everything's on the back rank apart from one bishop. So if he wants to get rid of that bishop, so be it. Another thing you need to bear in mind as well is this kind of shape that you can get sometimes when there's a light, when there's a pawn chain leading from where the king is. Very often you can find yourself in a position where all of your pieces are on the wrong side of the pawn chain to defend the king. And there's a little risk of that here. Because this light squared bishop's going nowhere. It's got, nothing to do. I mean, it could zip around here and then look at some empty space over there. This dark squared bishop is doing half a job at the moment. Obviously, there's a threat of mating 1 here with queen takes h7. So black decides not to capture the knight at this point because that would mean pawn takes, and then I've opened up my rook, my bishop and everything can get into the game. So black now pushes g6. I bring my bishop out, maybe with ideas of wriggling it around here. And now f5, another pawn move. Not sure how I feel about this one. So I play my queen back to f3. Now the computer didn't like that move at this point. But really my queen has not many options. What did it want me to play? I don't know. I haven't pulled up the analysis right now. So yeah, it said that's a mistake, but hey ho. Notice also I have 2 attackers now on that pawn and it's defended only once. So queen comes out, defends the pawn. I swing my queen round to h7. Now we're looking at another checkmate threat. So options in this position for black. You always have to remember whenever there's a threat, there are usually, not always, but usually multiple different ways that you can respond, right? Key thing is not just to react. Don't play the first move that comes into your head. So ideas are, for example, h5. Not too bad. Could lift the rook to defend the pawn, but then knight takes, not clever. Okay. What black actually plays now is to retreat the bishop to d8 with a discovered defense by the queen, which is nice. So I now centralize my rook, and then finally we have bishop takes knight, pawn takes, and now rook takes. So I figure that I want to bring my rook into the game here. Okay, now this is really the theme. If you look at the way the game has gone so far, right? This bishop, this rook have so far played no part at all. They've still got little Z's coming off them, right? What I'm trying to do now is, although my bishop isn't great because I've got lots of pawns on dark squares, right? I want to involve all of my pieces in the assault against black's king. Black, on the other hand, has still got 2 pieces in the box, and that's not going to help him. And now he comes after a pawn, by the look of things, on a2. But that's not the point. The point of this game is not, you're not going to win the game by gobbling up irrelevant pawns. You're more likely to lose the game because white is starting to bring the pieces into the battle. So clearly, doubling up my rooks, now all of my pieces are kind of involved. And b5, what the hell's that? I don't get that. Why b5? The action is over here. That's what you need to be worrying about. Anyway, so I guess it stops my rook from coming there, but no, I don't get that move. So now I push a3. This is my first kind of prophylactic move. I just think, well, why give up the pawn when there's no reason? I've got threats hanging over black right now. I'm not in a rush to close the net just yet. Now bishop comes across to b7. Yeah, it's kind of looking at g2, but that's not a biggie. It does also connect his rooks as well, remember. So this idea has no legs because you've got rook, rook, and still queen protecting d8. So I bring my rook now to d7. Okay. So with every move, stuff changes, and what's changed there is, well, for one thing, that square has just been undefended. So rook d7, and now, thank you, son of Jag. Okay, and now threatening queen takes, h7, checkmate. What are the options? How can you get out of this if you are black? Okay, one option is rook f7 there, offer to trade off rooks. That's an idea. That's indeed what's played. So now we swap off rooks, because I figure now, actually, whichever way this goes, I'm okay. I think that may be the only playable move, actually. Okay, so now I figure takes, queen takes h7, check, wins me the bishop. Okay, but I don't need to play it right now because I have an in-between move. Bishop c5 comes with check. Okay, king can't go anywhere on here, can't go there, and obviously can't go there. So this is a completely forcing move, and only one square remains, which will be king d8, and then king e8, and then queen e7 will be checkmate. Okay, so in the end, it kind of degenerated pretty quickly. But what you need to bear in mind is, say from here, the reason why Black lost this game is because he didn't engage his pieces, right? And why didn't he engage his pieces? Well, he didn't engage his pieces. Let's just look at this, right? 2 pieces out. Decides to shoot one of his own pieces, right? Evaporates it, disappears. Okay, gains tempo. Annoying knight. I get rid of the annoying knight. I'm up a pawn. Okay. Still in the box, these two, right? Castles, yeah. And now, because I have that development lead, I can start my assault. And because I can start my assault against black, because black's played very slowly so far and has lost tempo, he's now in a position of being on the back foot and having to defend and respond to what I'm doing, okay? Whereas I have the initiative, I can spend my time coming up with ideas of how to keep the pressure on. See, that's the difference. Develop, slightly pointless move. Now he has to defend his pawn. Okay, and now another checkmate threat. Now he has to respond again. Trades off again. Trades off, and now I've activated my rooks, you see. This rook is doing absolutely nothing right now. Its only job really is the defense of d8. This rook is doing worse than nothing, right? It might as well be still in the box. This bishop has only got one idea in the entire game, which is to go to d7, okay? And that's the thing, that's why these slow defenses, or slow development, that's why it matters. Okay, what's this? This is a nothing move, okay? Completely nothing move. And now I push that, and now this is the mistake. Black missed the fact that I've got 2 major pieces now, addressing this square, which in turn gives me access to that square, and then it's all over, right? Very straightforward game, 25 moves, all over. You've got to learn to read the board. You've got to develop. Get your pieces out into the board. These aren't chess principles for no reason. They're very good reason. You can see it. It's all over this game. Why Black lost this game, right? This rook might as well have not been on the board. It did absolutely nothing. Look at this rook. Even my bishop comes in. Even my bishop helps to drive in the final nail. There you go. So I thought that was interesting to share with you. Thank you for following along. I hope you've picked up a few things from that. Please subscribe to Chess Bootcamp if you haven't subscribed. See you later.